I'd like to introduce our next speaker, our guest speaker today, Brad Lindemann. I've known Brad for a long time. He is a follower of Christ. He is a business owner, and he has a passion for the unborn. Brad was on my board when I was with the Indiana Family Institute, and I've served with him in Bible study for a couple years together, and really enjoy his passion for what he does as his calling to see a day when abortion ends, when it's restrained, when the right to life restrains the right to choose for those who have yet to be born. Brad believes there will be a time in America when his tireless works and our tireless works in the pro-life movement will end abortion. He's going to speak about that today. He believes the key to winning the war within the womb is to set the living victims of abortion, the women who've had abortions, free, and put them out on the front lines with their stories to enter the pro-life army. He has a compassion for women who've been harmed by abortion and for the unborn, and he's going to join us today and speak about his passion in the cause for life. Brad?
Thank you, Micah, Meredith, and Spencer, and Sherry. It's truly an honor to share a stage with fellow foot soldiers in what I like to refer to as God's pro-life army. I want to thank Secretary Rakita and Congressman Burton for being here, for being politically incorrect and having priorities in the right order. We are blessed to have leaders in the political arena like you that stand for life. If I started my personal thank yous, I'd use up all the time that I have, but I think I hear 50 million thank yous echoing over 36 years. They thank you because today it would have been easy, instead of taking a position directly in the line of fire, it would have been easy to stay home and prop your feet up by the fire. It's cold and it snowed today, and so I hear 50 million voices saying thank you for coming. It's good that you are here. Time also doesn't permit me to talk to you about the 7 distinct crisis pregnancies that have occurred in our immediate family over 3+ decades. That have much to do with the passion that burns within me on this subject matter. Suffice it to say, I've walked in similar shoes as many of you, and with each passing day, I only become more passionate on what I consider to be the issue that defines this nation today. I had the privilege of speaking to Sherry's group over there at the Church of Acts a few weeks ago. They call it Club Acts. It's just organized chaos. You can't believe what goes on there on a Friday night. You've got kids from 6th grade to seniors in high school, and instead of doing what I confess to them I used to do on Friday nights, I spared the details wherever Sherry went. But they kind of got the idea. And one of the things that we engaged in some dialogue on was the dangerous neighborhoods in the area. And boy, they were all quick to have an opinion on that. They had a lot of thoughts as to what they considered to be the most dangerous neighborhoods in Indianapolis were. But they got very silent when they came to understand that since January 22nd, 1973, far and away, the most dangerous neighborhood in the United States of America has been within the womb of American women. 1 in 4 of those who enter that neighborhood never come out alive. The death toll of this 36-year war within the womb stands at 50 million and counting. Within the heinous realm of man's inhumanity to man, the American abortion holocaust ranks near the top. Few times in human history have so many innocent lives been lost for any reason or cause, and yet we, the people, continue to slaughter our unborn at a rate of nearly 4,000 per day, all with the blessing of our government. My fellow Hoosier Americans, I think you are here today because you recognize that it ought not to be so. There is indeed a war raging within the wombs of American women, and on that fact, do not be deceived. And furthermore, particularly given current events, we are losing that war. And we will continue to lose that war if every compassionate and life-affirming citizen doesn't soon move to the front of the battle lines. I recognize that many of you have already answered the call and assumed your positions. Others are here in search of healing from a past abortion experience. Some may be here seeking to either solidify or to change your own position on the issue of when life begins and who should have a right to end it. But whatever brought you here, my hope is that you will leave informed, impassioned, and yes, even a bit incensed over what I believe to be the single most important issue facing our nation today. I believe that our march towards victory starts in the hearts and minds of the living victims of abortion. By living victims, I mean the estimated 50 million American men and women who have participated in abortion. And no doubt many of you are here today because that describes you. I believe that God is calling them to lead in the fight for the lives of his innocent children. As Commander-in-Chief of the pro-life Army, God has called me to clarify what his marching orders are. He may be calling you as well. I believe he is. I'm here today without apology and on good authority to enlist you in his righteous cause. God himself has reinstituted the draft, and your number has been called. Yes, God wants you. God wants you in his pro-life army. If you are a living victim of abortion, please come out of your bunker and hear the good news that God has for you. You're not alone. 1 in 4 American adults are burdened by an abortion in their past. Imagine the devastating toll that burden takes not only on its living victim, but upon the nation as a whole. It is literally incalculable. Imagine the power that would be unleashed if these living victims would leave their guilt and shame at the foot of the cross by accepting the forgiveness that they so desperately need. Imagine the mourning that would turn to dancing if God's people would turn to these people with the good news of his grace for them. Imagine winning the war within the womb. Imagine abolishing abortion in our lifetime. Imagine, if you dare to, I have. In fact, I've more than imagined an America that ceases to sacrifice its unborn on the altar of convenience. Indeed, I have a dream. I have a dream that my 5 children will one day live in a nation where their right to choose will once again and forevermore be constrained by the rights of all others to live. I have a dream today. It is a dream that must be fulfilled, for the very future of our nation depends upon it. And I believe this dream emanates from the very heart of God and from the souls of our great leaders in our nation's past. To begin putting the American abortion holocaust into its proper historical context, I must tell you that I believed Thomas Jefferson's fear was well-founded when he said, "I fear for our country when I remember that God is just." Indeed, if God's righteous wrath doesn't soon rain down upon our nation, a nation whose women's so-called right to choose trumps their children's right to live, won't Sodom and Gomorrah have a right to an apology? These prophetic words, spoken in 1838 by the great emancipator Abraham Lincoln, ring eerily true today. Listen to what he said. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and its finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide. Abortion on demand by governmental decree is nothing less than a national suicide pact. We are, in fact, doing to ourselves what no power on earth can do to us. Yet our obsession with ourselves has blinded us to the reality of our imminent self-destruction. One of the great emancipated, Frederick Douglass, noted how his slaveholders, particularly the women, would slowly but surely go from treating slaves as human beings to treating them as lower than animals. He rightly concluded that nature never intended that men and women should be either slaves or slaveholders, and nothing but rigid training long persisted in can perfect the character of the one or the other. My fellow Americans of all colors, just because our government has spent the last 36 years training us to believe that an unborn child is something less than human does not make it so. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution stands as a permanent reminder of this truth. Just as African Americans have always been fully people, despite a time during which our government declared otherwise, so too are the defenseless unborn children within the wombs of American women. Upon this fundamental truth, the slavery and the abortion issues meet. I'm sad to say that such truth seems to be lost on the very ones who should not only understand it, but passionately embrace it. May God open their eyes, their minds, and their hearts. On this we can agree, Mr. President. America is a place where all things are possible. And so I implore every pro-life American to pray that we will once again have a pro-life president before the next election. Before the next election. "68 years after American slaves were freed, Hitler's Nazi regime exterminated 6 million Jews between 1933 and 1945. That murder rate of 500,000 per year for 12 years, tragic as it was, is 1/3 the average abortion rate in America over 36 years. For every Jewish Holocaust victim, there have been nearly 9 victims of the American abortion Holocaust, and still counting. Dare I equate the lost life of an unborn American child to that of a Jewish Holocaust victim? I not only dare to do so, but the Creator of all life demands that we do so. The Jewish Holocaust is properly and permanently memorialized in the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. Part of my dream is that we will one day pay similar homage to the victims of the American abortion Holocaust. We will do so by constructing an equally fitting memorial and construction cannot be completed until abortion is outlawed. However, we gather here today as a sign that construction has already begun. And we will not stop until our work is done, until the battle is won. We will not stop until this Holocaust stops. A more recent and closer to home example of man's inhumanity to man took place on September 11th, 2001. On that fateful day between the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the fields of Pennsylvania, 3,000 innocent lives were lost. A day so horribly memorable that it will live in infamy and forever be known simply as 9/11. Yet, in the America of the unborn, more than the Twin Towers have fallen every day for over 36 years. Nearly 4,000 innocent lives, over 13,140 days, each and every day. Devastation of unimaginable proportions. And yet some would ask, dare we equate the lost life of an unborn child to that of a 9/11 victim? Indeed, we dare not do otherwise. For the giver of life knows full well the value of his precious gifts, each and every living one. Yes, each and every human life is precious to the God who created them, those who remain and those whom he's called home. Despite this truth, we live in a country that is governed by laws that often value human life, sometimes even animal life, sometimes even plant life above human life. I'm reminded of this every time I go to the office. The lake outside my window is home to a large flock of Canada geese. Come to think of it,